The reason you feel exhausted, stuck, or quietly disconnected from your work is not because you need more discipline or even a vacation, but because your nervous system has been trained to equate pressure or even conflict with safety. Most high achievers are driven by regulated strategies that they learned from a long, and really they don't serve them well anymore. In today's episode, I want to show you how mindfulness, when practiced through the body, not just in the mind, becomes a way to heal the hustle mindset instead of simply managing it. So let's dive in. Today's intention simply is to help you recognize where hustle is still operating in your nervous system and to give you embodied mindfulness practices that you can use immediately to begin shifting how you work, how you lead, how you move throughout your day, your work, your life. Some of these are practices that I use for myself in my own personal life and in my work life. And so I wanted to share them with you all and have you try them out to see if they are of a benefit to you. We have been hearing about mindfulness, especially here in Western culture, the United States, for over 20 years. And mindfulness practices tend to be things that we think of like meditation and breath work, contemplative practices, and even yoga asana on the mat. And when we think of those practices, except for yoga asana on the mat, we always think of a mental practice, I believe, here in the States. And I want to challenge that notion today, especially for those of us who are considered high achievers, right? We are already prone to overthinking. Right? And so we are already well connected to our thought process. But what I have found in myself, as well as in other people who identify as thinkers or overachievers or overthinkers, is that we stay in our minds 90% of the time. And it doesn't always occur to us to drop down into our bodies and check in with sensations that might be coming up in our physical form. And going a little bit deeper, those sensations or those feelings that might be moving through our central nervous system. Checking in with ourselves to see if we're regulated or dysregulated, right? So if we're staying always in the mental, then we're often forgetting our energetic body, our breath, our nervous system, and how those all tie back in to our mental focus. And so today we're going to get to do a little bit of practice around inviting our bodies into the party. So hustle is a nervous system pattern, I believe, not necessarily or not just a personality trait. We all know people, and we might be those people who hustle, right, for a living, whether you own a business or you've got a startup or you have several different part-time gigs going on at one time, or maybe you work a job that the schedule varies from week to week, but when you do work, like nurses, they might work at a 12-hour shift all at one clip, but only 3 days a week, right? And so for a lot of folks, that feels like hustle energy, right? We live in a system where we've got to make money. And if we don't have a traditional old-fashioned 9 to 5, or if we're in the business world, then there is this idea that we are out here hustling, or that you should at least adopt an energy of hustle, or else you're not really doing it right, or you don't really want it as badly as the next guy. And I would challenge that as a personality trait and talk about it more as a nervous system pattern or nervous system patterning. Many high achievers mention things to me like, I just like to stay busy. I like to stay busy. It feels weird to me to not be doing something. Like the idea of just sitting down on the couch and maybe watching a television show is foreign to them in some ways. I work best under pressure. That one was always mine from the time I was in college. If I had more credits, more classes, and I was in some sort of club on campus that was busy. I remember the semester that I pledged a sorority, I had a full semester of classes. I think I had 4 or 5 classes, pledging a sorority, and was involved in a group on campus. And that was the semester that I got my highest GPA, right? Because the pressure was so thick that I made it work. And a lot of us work that way. Or sometimes I hear from people when they say, I don't feel motivated unless I push myself, right? And so we've all been there, and that's all part of hustle culture. Now, from a yoga therapy and trauma-informed perspective, hustle often functions as a way to stay ahead of discomfort, a way to avoid slowing down long enough to feel what is unresolved within us. So let that just kind of sink in for just a moment. What that is saying is that there's something that comes up for us that we don't want to look at, or we don't want to feel. And so staying busy helps us to avoid those unresolved parts of ourselves. And it's also a way to regulate anxiety through motion, control, productivity. And so your body learned that moving fast created approval, safety, predictability, and emotional protection. The body repeats what works. So every time something works for us, whether it is dysfunctional in some way, if it worked for us, for the most part, we will repeat it. This is why mindset work alone does not heal hustle, because the habit that lives in the nervous system is one that is hard to break, especially when the nervous system really thinks of it as something that works really well. So I would invite you to ask yourself, when I slow down, what do I immediately start to feel? When I slow down, what do I immediately start to fear? Right? Either one. When I slow down, what do I immediately start to feel or fear? And let that answer rise up in you through your body, not in the mind. Mindfulness must include the body's awareness. Traditional mindfulness often trains the mind and trains attention, but it also included the body, paying attention to the sensations, the tensions, the feelings that come up in your body once you turn your attention to observing it. Now, for high achievers or overachievers or overthinkers, attention is absolutely not usually the problem, because we can stay in the mind. It's pretty easy. But the real work is learning how to sense and regulate the body while you are still in motion. All right? So I truly believe in taking time for stillness and silence. I have learned over the years in my own mindfulness practice that taking a little bit of time each day, usually for me in the mornings, and then if I remember, and I have now set alarms for myself to help me to remember, sometime in the middle of the day to take a couple of minutes as well. But at least in the morning, I am taking some time to sit, come to stillness, and be in a place of observing what comes up for me in my mind as well as throughout my body, checking in with my central nervous system to make sure I'm in the place where I want to be to move into my day. We are not trying to create just stillness alone, though, with these mindfulness practices. We are training a relational awareness to our bodies through sensation, breath, and internal cues. So, the question that I asked you a couple of minutes ago is the first way, one way that you can tune inward to experience what may be going on in your body. There is also what I call a 2-minute regulation reset for the hustle mode or the hustle mind. And I invite you to take a moment to try this for yourself right here, right now. If you're standing, I invite you to take a seat, come to a comfortable seat. Gently placing your feet on the floor. If you're in a seat that has a seat back, allow your back to relax against that seat back. And then just tune in to the sound of my voice as you close your eyes or lower your gaze. And gently place one hand on your chest and one hand on your lower belly. Now, inhale through your nose for a very slow count of 4. Pause briefly at the top of that breath, and then exhale through the mouth for a count of 6. Let's do that again. Inhale to the count of 4. Pause. And exhale to the count of 6. One last time. Inhale, count of 4. Pause. And exhale to the count of 6. Now allow yourself to come back to your natural breath and ask yourself, where in my body do I feel effort right now? Not tension, but effort. It's often in our bodies where we feel places of effort, even when we're doing a practice that's supposed to be calming, that gives us a signal. Tension also gives us a signal. If you feel your heartbeat speeding up rather than slowing down, that gives you some information, a signal. So did you feel some effort in your jaw or in your shoulders? Effort in the belly, in the breath? Trying to hold yourself in a certain way or in a certain muscle pattern that you're used to? I invite you to practice that again and again. Just checking in with yourself to see if you can relax those muscle patterns and listen even more deeply in your body. This practice teaches the body that slowing down, i.e. coming to relaxation, does not equal a threat, does not equal danger. So use this reset before you open your laptop to respond to emails or enter any meetings. You are then training a new baseline for your body and for your central nervous system. Now, healing hustle mind or hustle energy through yogic wisdom, primarily yoga philosophy, is one of the quiet roots of hustle that is distorted in the relationship with effort. So we often feel like when we're learning a new thing that's supposed to be good for us, that we have to effort in order to do it right, to get it right. But it is not effort itself, but it's how we relate to the practice. I invite you to be easeful with the practice, with all the practices I will give you today, all the ways that you question and intuit into your inner experience. Be easeful, compassionate, curious, and observant. In classic yoga practice, we are taught to have balance between discipline and compassion, steadiness and ease. We are taught balance between engagement and softness, and that this is what life is, to find very often the middle path between extremes. Hustle is what happens when our discipline becomes disconnected from our self-listening, from our self-awareness. This is not about doing more or even doing less. It is about doing from a different inner orientation. It's about the how you do. It's about how you take action. Now, another practice that I have adopted in my life is the alignment check-in before I take specific action. So it could be an alignment check-in that you do before your next minor task in a day. It could be tackling the unread emails in your inbox, or it could be having that hard conversation with an employee or coworker or with a family member, right? So before your next task, allow yourself to pause. When you pause, you allow yourself to come fully into the present and connect to your breathing. So pause, connect to your breath, and then ask yourself, is this action coming from a sense of urgency or from a sense of clarity? Urgency and clarity are different. And then place your attention in your body so that you can notice, is my breath shallow or deep? Is my jaw tight and clenched, or is it soft and relaxed? Is my body feeling tense, leaning forward into anxiety, or does it feel grounded and fully in the present? If urgency is present, then don't force the productivity. First, allow yourself to regulate, take a breath, and then choose. Commit to using the aligned check-in 2 to 3 times a day as you are moving about your workday and throughout your work week. Just allow yourself to be the observer. You'd be surprised at how your self-awareness can grow. Now, yoga therapy for the overachiever kind of body, and I'm talking the physical body. So oftentimes if we are overachievers, overthinkers, we tend to lean towards anxiety. And anxiety shows up in the body as more of a shortened breath. Like our lungs go all the way down our torso towards our, past our navel area and towards our hip flexors. And most people, modern people, pretty much because we're sitting most of the day, but also because we do lean towards anxiety or depression, we use about 1/3 of the capacity of our lungs when we breathe. Oftentimes we are sitting on soft furniture often, or at our desks in this kind of way, or hunched over our phones, right? And so our shoulders are forward, our heart center, our chest is caved more inward, and we are breathing from this place. Our bodies, though, were designed to breathe in the fullness of using our lungs. And so when we allow ourselves to step fully into our physical bodies, something changes. Hustle mind or hustle energy lives very clearly in specific postural patterns and muscular patterns. That forward orientation, that collapsed chest, that neck and upper traps chronically being tight, and that restrictive breath is so common among modern humans that work 40-hour days, 40 hours per week. And if you are a leader or running a business or an entrepreneur creating something new in the world, that energy can be so much stronger, especially with the overthinking. So we do not release that muscle pattern or muscular energy from thinking alone. You have to actually get into your body to release that. And you must release it gently, repetitively, allowing for your nervous system to have what I'd call nervous system friendly movement. So gentle movement. That could be stretching. I highly recommend stretching every single day, even if you don't get another form of exercise in. So just getting on the floor, getting on a mat, and doing some stretching, doing some yoga is another thing, or going for a slow, gentle walk. If you can get outside, depending on the weather, it's been very cold where I live right now in Maryland. But if you can get outside and get some sun while you're walking, the benefits are astronomical. So in this practice, this I call the 1-minute reset posture practice. It invites you to really unwind those muscle patterns that we all have come to know. And so you can do this sitting down or standing up. It takes about a minute. And so I'm sitting down, and so you'll want to have your feet on the floor. And just roll your shoulders up closer towards your ears and then back, down and away from your ears slowly. And we'll do that 3 times. So 2 more times. Inhale, bringing the shoulders up. As you exhale, bringing them down towards your back of you. And one last time. Inhale, rolling those shoulders up. And then back as you exhale and down. And it helps to just counter that rolled forward shoulder thing. And then gently open your ribs. So take a deep inhale in and let your ribs expand east to west, right? Let your ribs expand in your back as you breathe in. Fill your lungs completely on that inhale. And then as you exhale, feel your feet or your seat grounded downward. And then let your navel come in towards your spine as you exhale. Almost like you're just squeezing your torso so that you let all the air up and out. So as you do that big inhale, let your ribs expand all around your back. Think of yourself having a big barrel chest and back. And then as you exhale, it contracts and comes in, and you bring your navel all the way in towards your spine. Right? And so that's the practice. You do that just about 3 times. It resets your energy as well as your posture. And then to finalize this, now imagine that there's a string that runs up the spine, up your spinal column, out the top of your head. And just imagine that someone has just tugged on that string. And so just allow your next inhale to lift your spine and lift the crown of your head upward. And then as you exhale, allow those shoulders to relax. And then again, inhale, spine long and tall. Exhale, relax those shoulders. And those 3 movements, right? It allows your body to have a reset. It allows your energy to have a reset. And even more importantly, it allows your attention to drop out of your head and back into your body. This helps you to support your spine without collapsing, right? You have that uprightness without strain. Do this posture reset after long periods of sitting or long periods of being in meetings or working. It just helps to reset the energy of your body. And this is not really about fitness per se, right? But this is about nervous system reset and nervous system hygiene. Now, there's a deeper identity shift here that is real for healing hustle energy or hustle mindset. Most leaders and high achievers are unconsciously asking, what am I if I'm not striving? Who am I if I am not striving? And mindfulness practices reveal the deeper question, which is, who am I when I am grounded, regulated, and internally resourced? You do not lose ambition when you heal hustle energy or hustle culture or hustle mindset. You do lose fear-driven motivation behind it. You gain clarity, and clarity allows you to make decisions from a different place than pressure or fear or hustle. So an identity-based inquiry that I would invite you to take on is, who would I be, asking yourself, who would I be at work if I trusted my body as much as I trust my mind? What would I do differently if I were no longer trying to prove safety? Safety through productivity. So just let those questions land for you. And if you, of course, have a practice of journaling, write what comes up through your body as you answer those questions. Now, how do you actually practice all of what we've talked about today in your life? So here's a simple, light integration plan for, say, the next 7 days. Begin each workday with just a 2-minute breath reset. So early in your day, just take a couple of minutes to just breathe and reset. Use the alignment check-in before any major decisions that you have to make. And then reset your posture at least a couple of times a day. And then journal 1 sentence per evening before sleep, asking yourself, maybe like, where did I move from clarity instead of urgency or pressure today? So this is how mindfulness becomes embodied. This is how mindfulness moves from a mental activity to an embodied activity, so that it becomes natural for you to check in with yourself in this way. Healing the hustle mindset is not about slowing your life down or slowing your progress down, right? It is about bringing your nervous system with you into the life that you are looking to build. So, if today's episode resonated for you and you are starting to recognize how deeply your nervous system shapes your leadership, your work, and your choices, I created a free guide that walks you through why awareness alone, why insight alone does not create lasting change, and what actually supports integration in the body. And you can find that guide link in the show notes. And if you feel ready to explore what it looks like to heal hustle at a deeper level inside your own life and your leadership, you are always welcome to book an alignment call with me. And that link is also in the show notes. So if you feel like this is a practice that you can incorporate in your day-to-day life, I'd love to hear from you about how it's going. So feel free to reach out. Until next time, remember, it's your inner experience and how you move about the world that makes the difference. It's not at all about what you do or how much you do, but it's always about the how you do any and everything that you do. Take good care, and I'll see you next time here in the Expansion Room.